Up next on Inside ChampCar, racing at Mid-Ohio. Welcome to this episode of Inside ChampCar. I'm Brian Bielanski. The guy above me, he's always there, Bill Strong.
Brian Bielanski, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. And then the guy over there, I never know where to point.
Yeah.
The guy over there, Tim Stevens. How you doing, Tim?
Hey there. Very good.
I'm excited to have you on the show. You and I have some similar background. We're going to chat about that a little bit. But first, we have to ask you a question. Have you watched the show before? That's not the question. Have you watched the show before, Tim?
Oh, absolutely.
So you know the question. You know what's coming at you.
He didn't even know who we were. He kept calling me Brian and you Bill. Come on.
That is not true, Bill. Stop disparaging our guests.
It's not. It's not.
Tim, the question is simple. How did you get mixed up in this crazy sport that we love?
Whew. I think I had to have been 8 years old and saw race cars going around a track on TV.
Nice.
And said, that's me. I got to do that.
Cool. So,
and some people's parents say absolutely not. Mine were cool enough. They said, yeah, you should do that. And oops, the problem started.
Yeah, that is a problem. Did your parents have no idea?
Oh, they encouraged it. They had no idea what they were getting into.
Right,
Absolutely
exactly.
Not. No, we were all super naive.
So, what did you start? What did you start racing? What was your first thing?
I started racing karts. I was 9 when I did my first kart race.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So was that like a Briggs, like most
kids?
Yeah, we
were running a Briggs flathead 5 horsepower.
Yep.
A bunch of little kids riding adult karts, and it just kind of escalates from there. In hindsight, you realize that karting is actually cheap.
Yeah.
Well, it may be when you're first starting out, but I know people who are spending $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year to go top level kart racing.
Yeah.
It gets there real quick, and then you remind them that they can go car racing for that money.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Then they do that, then they go back to karts. We've had people do that. So you started kart racing, and was that up in Pennsylvania or?
That was in Pennsylvania. There weren't a lot of road course tracks in Pennsylvania, so we did most racing in Ohio.
Okay.
Where'd you grow up in Pennsylvania?
Erie.
Okay. Yeah, I used to live up near Bradford, PA. You know where that is? Not far from.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Been in Bradford.
Yep. So so racing over in Ohio, and then how long did it take you to get to 10 tops to cars?
It was a super easy transition because I was racing karts on car tracks. I was doing enduro racing, which is where you take a regular go-kart and put it on a full-size sports car track.
Yeah.
And we're doing it with Woodbridge Kart Club at Summit Point. And the natural progression from there is just get in a car.
Yeah.
So we found our first car. It was a MR2. And didn't know we were writing history at that point. Didn't know we were going to end up here because of that. And it was great. Did our driver school, and it's such a natural transition. If you can spend even just 2 years in karts, makes car racing all that more easier. You already know the racecraft. You already know how to get around racetrack. You just got to figure out what the shifter that you now have.
How old were you when you started car racing?
16.
Oh wow! So right when you got your license, you hopped in a car.
That was the first thing. In fact, it was SCCA that required you to do 2 driver schools before you can earn your novice license. I didn't turn 16 fast enough. Turned 16 in December. The race season started in April. Had to get a waiver. Hey, let me do 1 driver school, get my license. They do that. They put you under a microscope, make sure you make no mistakes. Then they give you your license, and off we go.
So was your first car like an IT car?
No, we skipped over IT. We went really untraditional. Usually, you don't go from karting to production class in SCCA, and we did just that. We went to e-production and garnered a lot of attention for it because all the young kids went formula racing, the prototypes and such, but to go straight into sports cars like that was really helpful.
So why did you go sports cars?
It's a really good question. I think my dad drove that mostly. He liked the British sports cars. It's the type of racing that he was exposed to.
Sure.
It was a nice way to fly under the radar. When you're a young kid and you go Formula car racing, you're looked at as potentially the next thing. And everything you race, you have to do really well in. You have to make sure you're podium, you're top notch every session. Going sports cars made it a nice relaxed way we can learn how to work on cars, learn how to do things, and you're not in the public eye yet.
Right. So you must be young, because when I started out in the SCCA, there was no 16 or 17-year-olds racing. We had to be 18 before they'd even let it show up with a helmet. What year was this approximately?
This was 99.
Okay, yeah. So you're a little younger than I am.
And I got turned away the first time we went to Watkins Glen was in 99.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Still that way.
Yep.
Yeah.
We registered, signed up, trailered up there on that
no.
registration. And people always ask, they say, well, oh, how old are you? Right. And just like a source of pride, like, I'm 16. And they listen to me like, oh,
yeah,
you can't be here.
Yeah. Well, you can be there. You just can't race there.
Exactly. Yeah.
They do a really good job of advertising that now.
The next day they did. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and Colin Braun was the first kind of pro racer that run into that. He tried to go IMSA racing up there at age 16 or 17. And they said, no, you can't do that. Then it became a big thing, and New York State has never even thought about changing the law. So that's not Watkins Glen's rule. That's not SCCA's rule. That's New York State's rule. So.
Yeah, because we come across that. We've had young drivers that just can't race with us up there.
Right.
You know? So, yeah, that kind of sucks.
So did Dad drive the car that weekend since you guys drove all the way up there?
We never thought of that. In hindsight, yeah, that would have been his opportunity.
It should have been. So.
All right. So first couple of years, you're doing the e-production car. We're getting the MR2 OC up and running around 2001, 2002, coming on strong. You come on. We notice there's this GT3 MR2 racing, like almost full fiberglass or mostly fiberglass car, and doing quite well in the Mid-Atlantic Road Racing Series.
Yeah, we went to runoffs in eProd in 2001. And it wasn't a fully developed car at that point. And e-production is a really hard class because you have to make factory components work as race car components, a lot like ChampCar, right? We found out that, if you switch to GT3, toss a Toyota Atlantic engine in it, you can start putting circle track parts on it, tube, chassis, tube, suspension, everything, spend a lot less money and go a lot faster. So we did that starting in 2002. And started breaking lap records, started winning races. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that was a pretty high. That was a Formula Atlantic 4AG, right?
Yep. Toyota Atlantic, 240 horses.
Yep.
Did that bolt right in, or was there a lot of work that had to be done to get that thing to work?
Just bolt right in. Just screwdriver and a hammer, maybe, just to, you know. That's an engine out of a stressed. The Formula Atlantic's a stressed. The engine stress because it just bolts onto the body and the suspension mount. You know, but you have to do a few things to make it work. But they've been running that basic engine in the MR2s for racing for years, just not in something so lightweight. That was what made it so quick.
But what was the Formula Atlantic based on, that motor?
The 4AG out of the Corolla GTS.
Okay.
Yeah, and the MR2, first gen MR2.
So it should have bolted right in, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
cool. But you have other issues with a super weak transmission and not great suspension. All Corolla based suspension, even Corolla size. It's little tiny stuff, and they tend to break and not perform well. But you were able in GT3 to really basically punch all that stuff up.
Oh yeah, the rule book really opened up. We would run factory components until they broke, and they said, okay, time to upgrade that. But yeah, a really fun car. It weighed 1,900 pounds. We actually used stock brakes. We would outbrake some of the tube chassis cars with large brakes with those factory MR2 brakes.
Yeah, and that's super lightweight. And that's one of the reasons why your front suspensions stay together. When you start putting them big brakes on it, that's why those hubs break. there's just so much more weight and torque and I don't know other sciencey things that cause that stuff to break. So you progress, you do pretty well. You go to the runoffs, don't you, with that car?
Never appeared at the runoffs again.
Okay.
Stayed. We actually won one national race at VIR with it, that was kind of the end of the road for that car. It was getting aged, a lot of miles on it, needed lots of money. At that point, it was time to start thinking about let's try to make a career out of this. Let's find the next step to make a professional racing career. Which that was not the time to do that. That was getting into 2005, 2006.
Okay.
Yep.
Right? The path for a American driver to go professional racing, if you wanted to make money, you needed to go open wheel. You needed to make it to ChampCar.
Right.
The other ChampCar.
Or the other
ChampCar.
Yeah, so I started doing some Skip Barber and Barber Dodge. Raced a lot of cool cars at a lot of cool places, just trying to open doors. Right. But it goes back to the whole money thing. Until you establish yourself as a pro driver, you must bring the money. And go back to the karting days. We didn't know that long term. We figured you work hard, you do well, you get the result, and you can make a career of it. Found out the realities of that, and decided pro racing just might not actually happen. Racing is now a hobby, and in all honesty, I wasn't prepared for that. So I kind of took about 10 years off. Through that time, Bill tried to get me to run his champ car, his MR2. And just no, that's not me. That's not me.
Yeah.
Then
I tried hard. I wanted him to come out and run with us.
He brought it to my house. He trailed it to my house, and I sat in it in the road there, and that wasn't even enough.
Yeah. You also had a MR2 Spider that you built up using a Ford V6 mounted north-south in it with a Porsche gearbox, and that you still have. I still want that car. I still want that
car. All right, we'll bring it over to your house after.
No,
because he'll get him divorced.
Yes. Or I'd be outside in the shop with the car. Good.
Before you go to that, you mentioned, Tim, that you tried to do the Skippy stuff and go through the open wheel ranks. A lot of kids do that today, and it's interesting because I get parents who come up to me all the time, and they want advice. How do I take my kid pro racing? And you actually did some real smart stuff. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for you as well as you would have liked. But you tried to you established yourself as a competent driver before you started spending the money on the Skippy and the road to Indy. A lot of these parents take their kids right from karts to a Skip Barber school or a Skip Barber race series or a series above that. And as you found out, the money runs out really fast.
Yeah.
And these kids aren't always ready for that. You were more ready from a skill standpoint. You just didn't have the bigger checkbook that you needed to go a little further, is my guess, right?
Oh, precisely. That was it. Had several test rolls. Tested a Rolex car at Roar before the 24. Tested with Synergy at VIR, and everybody is happy to give you a test seat in the car because you're paying for that.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it doesn't go much further than that, no matter how fast you are.
Right. Yeah, because they gather data regardless of who's in the car. So they're getting a data session out of you on your dime that, you're paying for the tires, you're paying for all of that stuff. And they get to collect data on whatever new twisty bits they put in the car for the season. And that's great for them. So I get that completely.
That's not going through your head as the test driver.
Of course
you're
not.
Like, this is my chance.
Right.
And, here's a check, and, put me in that car, and I'll be the next Ayrton Senna. And,
Get me in there. I want to go win practice.
Yeah.
But there's a kid behind you who may be 4 or 5 seconds slower a lap, but he's got dad that runs a bank.
Right.
Named Senna. So, that's...
Exactly.
So Senna was pretty quick, but there's ask Tommy Burns about that.
Yeah.
So Tommy Burns, another one that lost seats. Well, he lost seats for other reasons. Some of them money wise, but
sure.
All right, so this happens. You take the MR2 out. You set some records at Charlotte at, I think, Rockingham too. You did some really quick racing of that Ford powered fiberglass.
Yeah, we always wanted to build our own car from scratch. Yeah, I knew I could drive. We knew we could wrench on cars, but could we actually design and build a car? So that's where the Spider came in, and that was fun. That was good. We want to actually build a fleet of them. So I figured, okay, well, if we're going to try to make it professionally in motorsports, we need to be a prep shop. We need other people paying us. And the idea was build this one. It'll be the prototype, and we'll garner up some interest, go run some cool stuff. Maybe NASA. At that point, I don't think Chumpy was up and running yet.
No, 2009 we started up. Yeah.
Yeah. So get a fleet of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these and start a whole business. Then the financial crisis happened, and nobody was spending new money on racing.
Yeah, that kind of sucked. That I was actually working with the Formula SAE folks as a volunteer and not working, but volunteering with them, and you could see it. It was just the money just stopped. It just came to a grinding halt. I mean, even GM was behind it at one point. They just stepped away. There were so many companies that just stepped away from anything motorsports related. And, we're really surprised we ended up where we are now because it was just dead.
Well, when did you start, though? In 2009, right?
Yeah, 2009, ChampCar started up.
So that's actually the best time to start is when you're on the backside of a financial crisis.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot less expectations. If you can, everyone's trying to get anybody onto their racetrack, so they're cutting a little better deals.
Yeah.
And that's an opportunity.
The big thing with ChampCar back then was that you didn't have a lot of racers
right
trying to do the ChampCar. We were an offshoot of Lemons, and it was more of, hey, just come out and have fun, man. It's not hugely competitive. Just build a car, come out, throw a cage in a car, get some safety equipment, grab some friends, and let's go have fun at some of these iconic tracks. And that's how it all started. And that's kind of what it was. Every now and then you'd get some team like, Riley, some of the NASCAR teams that was, the shop guys would throw together a car and go race in Lemons or ChampCar. And that was a blast. I mean, hell, the first race that we held at VIR 24, a bunch of NASCAR guys showed up. Tony Stewart brought a big hauler. We're all in there with open trailers and a couple of U-Haul trucks that guys rolled a car out of on 2x4s. And some really scary engineering going on there.
Or no engineering.
I should say 2x8s or something. And, a lot of jack stands and a lot of dunnage underneath it. But, at the end of the paddock was Tony Stewart and his guys, And I even think that Junior was headed out here till his shop told him he couldn't do it. So about this time, you get a job. You're working with Hendricks over in the parts department there. Not Hendricks racing team, but the Hendricks Toyota. So you stuck with the Toyota.
Right, yeah. Well, the beautiful thing, when I was 16, we bought that first MR2, right? I'm just going racing, and I need a job.
Yeah.
So I was playing ice hockey, and my coach was the parts manager at the local Toyota dealership. I said, hey, I need a job. Can I work for you part-time? He's like, yeah. So that started down the whole path of Toyota dealership parts, which ended up being pretty lucrative.
Yeah.
Worked my way up through the ranks, ultimately joined Hendrick Auto Group, and stayed there for doing the whole parts gig for about 20 years. When you're doing a job like that, yeah, you might be making some money, but you don't have time to work on a race car. You don't have time to go racing. You're working every weekend, right? So I got a little burned out with that, and right place, right time. I was working with the guys at Riley when they were running the Supras in the GS class, right? And they have to get some of their parts from the factory. So I became their go-to guy to call when they needed Supra parts. And back and forth, talk to them. I see a job posting, parts department. Hey, that's what I do.
Yeah.
Let's talk. We put a deal together. It was just enough to pull me away from the dealership world. And now I've found myself, boom, in professional motorsports, but not behind the wheel.
So what's funny about that is Bill actually messages me sometimes saying, hey, you know anybody that can do customer service, or know anybody can do this or that? And he had mentioned, hey, I need a parts guy. You know anybody for the Super stuff? You know anybody? And I gave him a small list, and I believe your name was in there as well. And not that I got you the job. Don't even think that. You probably had the job beforehand, because I think he actually said, yeah, we've already talked to him. So it's like, okay, this is pretty cool. So then fast forward now, you're hanging around and working with Bill Riley and the guys. You sort out his shop pretty well, I heard, and his part stuff. And that's kind of a tough job because you just don't do the super stuff. You do all the other divisions too.
Yeah, so my focus there, with the whole Riley organization, two sides of the company: Riley Technologies, where we design, engineer, and build the really cool stuff, the Trans Am cars, the continuation Mark IVs, one-off projects. And then we got the motorsport side. They're the ones that run the prototype program, the Porsche GS, the GTD cars, and all of that. So on the parts end, that is all manufacturing, mostly the Trans Am side, because we're building Trans Am cars, we do all the customer support, have quite a bit of parts, quite a bit of money there in the parts department. That all needs organized. And that's primarily what I was brought in to do.
Now,
which is fun.
Are you still with Riley?
I am, yeah.
How long have you been there?
3 years now.
3 years. So let me ask a question. You are 10, 15, gosh, now 20 years into this. Your whole focus at the start was being a race car driver. How hard is it? See, for me, I realized I wasn't a very good race car driver, so that's how I started to enjoy working with wrenches. And I love working on cars and have a great satisfaction with that. But when you're good at being a race car driver and circumstances force you out of the car, how hard is it to get your mind around the idea that I'm so close to touching what I was dreaming of doing, but I sit in the parts department?
Yeah, great question, because it's extremely difficult. I'm really fortunate with the way that I went about it. The people that I work with now, if you told me back when I started my career, say, hey, you're not going to end up a race car driver, but you'll be working with these people. Mm-hmm. I was like, no, you're kidding. You're joking. I like it better this way because in my 40s now, all the racing drivers that are my age, that I grew up racing karts with, they're at the end of their driving careers.
Yeah.
They've had fun driving a lot of stuff, but what do you do now? Or let's say you didn't make it. Let's say you got so close, and every race you're in, you're racing for your job.
Yep.
That's stressful, right?
Oh yeah.
I stepped away from it for about 10 years. I wasn't ready to go back racing as a hobby yet. So it gave me a fresh perspective when I did take the job at Riley. It's almost you don't want to say fanboy. That's never good, but the appreciation of, yes, and now I've made it. I can really appreciate the cars and the people and what go into it. So it's almost like, well, it was starting a whole new career.
Yeah.
But there were no feelings of animosity of like, oh, I should be driving this car. No, those feelings long gone.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny because you talk about the stress level, and I talk to Bill a lot, and he has a stress level that's, we think it's pretty stressful what we're doing in this sport. He's having to sell everything, every minute of his time, not part of ChampCar, because ChampCar is like a break for those guys. Every minute of their day is spent trying to get money, to try to get people to spend money with them to further the company.
Can you imagine never having to turn it off, never getting to turn it off? Yeah. Always having, no. Back when I was trying to do it for sponsorship, no matter what, you're with friends, you're driving down the street, you're looking at every company, you're analyzing them. Ooh, who's the CEO of that company? How do I talk to them? Ooh, how do I translate this connection that I just made into somebody who might actually pay for motorsports marketing? And it's a big weight.
Yeah, my wife complains about every time I talk to somebody, I tell them point blank, hey, I help run a racing organization, and we put on races all over, and I give the little spiel, and it's like, why do you do that? I'm saying because history has told us that of the thousands of people I've told this to over the years, 10, 15 of them have come to race or done something with our company. So right. It works. I mean, even if it's just one person out of 1,000 that comes and races with us, I've helped to do the job better. So, and the same with Riley or anybody, any race team, Hendricks, whatever, they're doing the same thing. And it's so freaking stressful, Well,
and you're always
all the time because you're inside of it.
Well, and you're always representing yourself when you're in that position. You can't have a bad day. You can't you can't get caught in an uncompromising position, no matter what that position might be. You know,
Right.
you can't. You're always having to be presenting yourself with the opportunity that the next person I walk into might be my next big check, and that's exhausting, isn't it?
It's incredibly exhausting, and it changes who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're always having to look for that opportunity. I want to say using people, but you're always evaluating the people around you. Are you a potential connection, or a potential source for me to get what I want in a race car?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So people are asking, oh darn, I hit the wrong button. Nobody's watching us. So any inside info on that Corvette?
Ooh, it's black. It exists.
You've heard it here first. Oh wait, nobody's listening. So have you got to take any laps in that Corvette?
I have not. That is before I went to Riley. Yeah, I thought the impression was that it was a fun employee project, almost like a thank you, like just something that they want to do it. It's natural customer program. Only select people get to drive it. I'm not one of them, but maybe after this interview, yeah. Hi, Bill. I can drive.
Yeah, it's not just Bill. It's what's his name? Matthews, Jim Matthews.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jim.
Oh, Jim.
I know. Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Tons of fun.
Oh my God, yes.
So
has the coolest shorts all the time.
Always.
So Tim, did being a former racer help you get the job with Riley, or was it mostly because you had all that parts background? Because
that's strictly parts background.
Okay, because if I'm Bill, maybe I'm thinking I don't want a guy who wants to be a race car driver working in the parts department. I want a guy who's a parts guy.
Yeah, no, absolutely 100% correct. People who want those positions to be close to the race cars, and oh my gosh, this race car here, there's race car. They don't last that long.
Yeah.
You're there to do a job, and it just so happens to be that you're working with some really cool race cars. You can have your moment of awe when you get the tour on your interview, but you turn that off really quickly and go do your job.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you get to travel with the team? Do you get to go to races?
I could have as a spectator if I wanted to. I don't have a role in the race teams. I did. Okay. I ran tires at the Rolex 2 years ago. They had I think one of the crew had to fly home really quickly. Got a quick call. Hey, you ever run tires before? Yeah, sort of. All right, come on, Daytona, you need to do that. So ran tires for one of our Porsches. But mostly my involvement.
When you say run tires, what is run tires?
Oh, okay. So this is the backside of the Rolex 24.
Yeah, this is the
what
part
you don't know.
The
is
non-sexy
what's going
part.
On. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So the race cars are on the track, right? Making a pit stop every 45 minutes. Every stop, they're changing tires.
Mm-hmm.
You have maybe 8, 12 sets of wheels. There's somebody on a Taylor Dunn that is also running a 24-hour race on that Taylor Dunn.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
And yeah. It's harder than driving the race car because the race car drivers get brakes. Yeah. So you drive the Taylor Dunn from your paddock, car comes in the pits, you time it perfectly. You come down the road behind the pits, and the tire guy, he's got the hot tires that just came off the car. He stacks them on your Taylor Dunn. You then boogie it down the backside of pit road. You go over to Michelin. You drop off those tires in the assembly line. The Michelin guys, they dismount everything. Your previous set is then ready to be picked up. You drive around, you pick that set up. You go back to your paddock where you got your tire technicians there. They're going to purge the tires. They're going to check the weights. And they have a set ready. You take that set back up to the pits, drop that set off, and it starts all over again.
So glamorous.
Oh, it's a blast. It's great.
Yeah, for 24 hours. Did you get
24 hours?
Oh, wow.
This Taylor Dunn doesn't stop moving.
And the practice sessions and all the others, right? That's not the race itself.
Well, the practice sessions, they're more organized with the tires as far as this practice, we're going to use this set of tires. You're not constantly running them through. During the race, as soon as green flag flies, you're doing this constant loop on the Taylor Dunn. It's usually a spot where people who want to get into motorsports, that's the job you start with.
Yeah. And we've had a bunch of ChampCar folks go down and run do the Michelin stuff. They're changing tires, balancing them, doing whatever, stacking them. I guess you stack them, and that's what they do during the race. So, all right, so so you got to do the that'd be kind of cool. So now fast forward to ChampCar this past weekend. You're at Mid Ohio,
yes,
and you're driving something odd, a BMW. I have one too. So, so you go and you drive a BMW. What team were you racing with this weekend?
So it's Stroke and Checks Racing.
Mm-hmm. Always a great name.
Well, little side note: in your free time, go Urban Dictionary, stroking a check. We didn't know the definition at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, little humor there on your side.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it now.
Yeah,
Company.
the family show. But it's a group of three gentlemen: Kevin Perkle, Mike Heppenstill, and John Schwabler. And we all met when we were all arrive and drive drivers with a Porsche Boxster team.
Mm-hmm.
And that team, they ended their operation. These guys didn't have anywhere to race. So they saw how I drove. They saw how I could wrench. They saw I could manage a team. Said, hey, if we put a team together, you want to join us? And I'm the keeper of the car. I wrench the car and transport the car. And the three of them show up, stroke their check, and we go race.
There you go.
Nice.
How'd you guys do this past weekend?
We got a P14 on Saturday, which was amazing because the three of them had never been to Mid-Ohio before. It had been 21 years since I had been to Mid-Ohio. We were shooting for a top 20, P14. Excellent.
And that was a pretty stacked field, man. There were some big guns in that race. Not some, but a lot of big guns.
The Salins, Atlanta Speedworks. There were some fast cars, and that we knew it was going to be the case. We finished second overall at 12-hour at VIR on South Course.
Mm-hmm.
Won our class, second overall, but we knew that while that was a really good performance, that was only our second race. Great performance, but we knew that those top teams also weren't at that race. So we know who we're racing against. We know how far our cars developed. We know where our driver talent lies, and it's just super ecstatic with a P14.
Now, what kind of car is it?
This is a 1994 325i.
Okay. And what else? Stick shift, everything normal, pretty much C class.
All your normal C class BMW stuff.
Okay, so just basically throw some tires on it, put a cage in it, fire system, and go racing.
Go racing. Super inexpensive, super easy to drive, super easy to sort out. Everybody races them, so parts are plentiful. Expertise is plentiful. It is probably one of the easiest, best cars just to slap on the track and go do it.
So I've done one stint at Mid-Ohio with our MR2 back in, I want to say it was like 2016. And the track got faster with the repave. How did it compare in your memory from what it was way back when you ran, 20 years ago, you said?
21, yeah. We did run in 2001 with the MR2. Night and day difference.
Yeah.
Wow. The grip was phenomenal. You could put the car anywhere you wanted to. The tire squealing was actually impressive. So DOT tires, they're going to squeal a little bit. But on that new surface, the tone, they were very vocal, and you actually drove the car more with the audible input to know where your grip level was by listening to the tires than you did more so from feeling the tires.
Yeah.
That's funny because there's been about 4 people that said the tires were really loud there. And I thought, well, maybe it was their rubber choice or, whatever. But yeah, that's kind of crazy, just the sound. And that we tried, I forget what tire it was. The RS3, not the RS4, but I bought the RS3s right at the end of their run and made a hell of a racket for us at Pitt and before their repave. And I'd always run the Durezas, which are a pretty quiet tire. I put those on it, and that feedback from those tires was crazy. But then we lost a tire, but luckily it was squealing all the way down as it bouncing towards the water tower there. But yeah. So any problems during the race?
On Saturday, none. We did make a tire pressure adjustment because we were actually on new to us rubber. We switched from the Bridgestones to the Continentals. Wanted to give those a try for longevity. So we didn't have the data to get the pressures right off the bat, but that was the only unscheduled pit stop. It went trouble-free all day Saturday. Sunday actually kind of turned into a test for us. We didn't have the pace. Everybody gets faster on the second day, right? Didn't have the pace right off. So we said, okay, let's gather data. Let's figure these tires out. And while we're in the middle of doing that, we had a mechanical failure within the clutch hydraulic system that we just erred on the side of caution. Said, we can't fix this at the track. There's 3 hours left in the race. Let's call it a successful weekend. Put it in the box. Go home.
Nice. So interesting statement there about how everybody gets faster on Sunday. I go to all these races, and Saturday's races for the race directors can be kind of a hair puller outer because new people, racers that have been doing this forever, sometimes things get a little crazy on Saturday. We go into Sunday, and they're like, okay, these guys are going to be good, but they're faster and they're taking more chances now. I think they know the track. They just take chances. Do you see that out there?
Oh, 100%. You hit the nail on the head right there. They're more comfortable. They're more confident. They have a benchmark, and I'm going to go beat that benchmark. I'm going to go out and I'm going to go faster today than I did yesterday. Oh, the intensity is definitely. Well, look at the lap times. Fast lap on Saturday was 1:39, and it took almost all day to get there. They're hitting 1:39s 20 minutes into the race.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the other part of it is that everybody, especially if you're paying the bills, if you blow the car up on Saturday, then you can't go racing on Sunday. So when you get to Sunday, you've got nothing. You can just take it home and fix it for however many weeks until the next race. So part of it is conservation. You're trying to make sure the car lasts to go racing on Sunday, and then when Sunday gets here, you can kind of throw caution to the wind as well.
Yeah, you conserve your equipment Saturday, use it up on Sunday.
Yeah, certainly.
As a car owner, I will tell you that's not what you do.
So in Skippy school, we have a thing called "Not Your Car, Not Your Tires," and we teach that. So when I first heard that, it's like, oh, okay, so respect the car, respect the tires. No, it's the opposite. It's not your car, use it. They're not your tires, use them.
Yeah, you've already paid for the tires, use them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, no, what the biggest most impressive thing about Mid-Ohio was the cleanup. So we're getting towards the end of the day on Saturday. It's about a half hour to go in the race, and the Z-Tech car blows a tranny on the front stretch.
Yep.
Puts a couple quarts of gear fluid down. All right, so you go to another track. Let's say VIR. They're going to put the key leader down. They're going to rub it in, and they're going to kind of push broom it off, and they rely on the race cars to clean it up the rest of the way, right? Now, when we went green that first lap, you had no idea that somebody blew up and put fluid down. It was gone. The kitty litter, no dust. That was impressive.
Well, I was sitting next to Bob. Bob is the guy that's controlling the safety workers. And I'll tell you, he was on those guys like, come on. They need to finish this race. Come on. And you saw some of the people like, they put a little more step in their step, and they got it done. And we were pretty impressed with how quick they got it done.
Yeah,
so,
I won't say it on either of my shows because I'll never get guests again. But there is a definite difference from track to track on the quality and the expediency of track workers. And some are like, I'm getting paid for my 8 hours whether I work my tail off or not. And others are like, I'm here to make sure these people get their money's worth, and because I want them to come back and write another check. And it definitely varies from track to track, and I would love to call out which tracks I think are fantastic and which tracks are not. But I will not, because Bill will never ask me back on the show.
I can give you a list.
Oh, I can too.
I have a list.
You and I both know the list.
We don't ever say it. No, we don't ever talk about it. Because it is one of those things that you want to be invited back to the track. And
right.
And you put up with some of the things that you put up with, as long as everything is safe.
Right.
If there's some safety issues, we'll say something. But if, there's tracks where the states require them to do this or that, and it just drags on, and we have to put up with the complaints about what happened. But there's rules or laws that the tracks have to go by, and
some tracks are just managed poorly in this department. I'll flat say that because we're not naming the tracks.
Yeah.
But some of them are just flat out managed poorly. And that's what bothers me. That's what bugs the living daylights out of me. Sorry.
Yeah, and
That's my
no,
soapbox.
it's tough, but it is what it is, and you go. Well, think about what it was 30, 40 years ago, Brian. I mean,
I remember
there
that.
were some really good tracks, and there were some that not so good. And it may be that those tracks are kind of new management, and they look at things a little differently, and they look at the bottom line versus
But 30 years ago, the tracks didn't do their own cleanup. The organizations provided the cleanup workers.
Yeah.
So
and we even supplied the flaggers and everything. So.
Correct. And so that's another big part of the difference is when the organization is providing the workers and they're working for the organization, there's a different level of response than when you're working for the track who's paid for by the organization. That's a big change as well.
So do you see a big difference, Tim, with racing from, the 90s to where we are now?
More Miatas.
Yeah, a lot of them.
There's a big difference, and mostly it's preparation, it's money. The best way I describe ChampCar is it's what SCCA endurance racing was back in the 90s. It's not, people still kind of refer to it as crap can racing. It's not that anymore. These are legitimate race cars, and there isn't a place for the lower end anymore, right? ChampCar, I don't want to call it lower end, but that's the good entry level. This is what SCCA used to be. The people who want to do it casually, they don't have a home except for ChampCar. They're not going to show up and do SCCA. They're not going to show up and do NASA. One, they can't because of the licensing requirements. So yeah,
it's tough. I mean, it's because even in the early days, we had some cars that were so far ahead of everybody, but the level of competition, the want to win, just wasn't there for everybody. A lot of people there just for the the camaraderie and the hanging out with your buddies and maybe a beer afterwards and or two or three. But now it's you walk through that paddock and it's just people just focused on that car that they're racing and working on.
In a good way. It's not a deterrent.
Yeah.
It's not somebody looking at it as like, oh, I can't compete with that, because no, it's you get that laser focus. You do one race, you're just that focused on it.
Yeah.
I always tell people, like, ChampCar, this level of racing, it is what you make of it. If you want to show up at a race and you want that to be your Le Mans 24, if you want that to be your Rolex 24, hey, more power to you. You make it what you want. If you want it just to be a bunch of buddies racing cars, drinking afterwards, it can be that too. It is what you make of it, and nobody's going to tell you you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what I tell a lot of the staff and folks is that, you guys, most of the guys that race in our series, this is their Le Mans. This is their Daytona 24. This is their Indianapolis. This is it. This is the highest they'll ever get in racing, unfortunately.
Right.
And just give them the best show that you can as a company. And that's what we try to do. And, try to keep it as organized as we can. We make mistakes. Sorry,
Sure.
Bill makes mistakes. But, we try to give you that experience. And hopefully you'll come back for more, because that's what I did. And it just escalated from 2 or 3, I think it was like 3 races one year to 6 races or 5 races and 6 races and 10 races. And it just got stupid. Yeah. And, and here I am.
Well, one of the other differences, I think, is that the what we're starting with, the lump of clay that we're all starting with now to build our cars, is so much better than the lump of clays that we were starting with for cars that were coming out of the 80s. And they're built, the motors are built stronger, the transmissions are built stronger, they're built more sporty right off the production line in many cases. Whereas every car we started with in the 80s, because I built cars in the 80s and in the 90s, we had to do stuff to them just to get them to the end of a sprint race. You couldn't, you wouldn't.
And that's the same thing with ChampCar. I mean, when we started out, with ChampCar, it was a lot of 70s and 80s cars, early 80s cars. And I remember us talking about, well, what's going to happen when we start bringing in these 90s cars? Because there was a big progression in speed. So a lot of guys out there racing, VW Golfs, Rabbits, and, just the smaller, cheap cars. Because, we were a $500 series back then. And the top speed for most of those cars was about 110 to 125 miles an hour. Then you go into hell, even a Mustang could barely hit 130 miles an hour.
Right.
from those years. And then later on in the late 80s, you start getting into the 150 mile an hour cars, a few of them like Mustangs and such. And then you progress into the 90s, and now you're getting into the big speed, the 155, 160. And, that was, I remember us talking about that in the early days. It's like, what are we going to do? I mean, are we going to allow those cars in? And we have, of course, not, we're rarely ever doing those kind of speeds, but they're still quick. But it brought up the bar on what kind of cars were racing with us.
Right. Yeah. Interesting.
So
what does the future have, Tim? Where are you racing next? What is the plan for your team and ChampCar? And
so I think that was the last race on our schedule for this year.
Okay.
So VIR is our home track, right? We got thousands of laps at VIR. So the idea was that will be our anchor, and then we'll pick a couple bucket list tracks that the guys want to hit. So we did Watkins Glen and then now Mid-Ohio.
So you got to race at Watkins Glen finally?
Yeah.
Yay.
Was it all you thought it would be?
It was. So actually, we went back with the MR2, and we did get to run it back in the early 2000s. So yeah, I did get it then. Got more laps than this time. It's a good track. I like the slower, more technical tracks.
Yeah.
That it's a very flowy track, but it's not a stand the car in its nose, get it to rotate, hit your marks, back on the throttle, and zoom off the next corner and do it again. It's high speed, not a lot of rotation in the car. It's get it through the corner. Not my. I still like it. It's not my preference. I like Mid-Ohio a lot better, where you don't have a chance to breathe. Where what you're doing in the current corner, if you're not thinking about 3 corners from now, you're already behind. But yeah, we'll do. We want to keep Mid-Ohio on the schedule next year, maybe. But we're talking about doing Road Atlanta. Potentially we'll really like that. The 12-hour VIR South again, perhaps. That's one of my favorites. I love the 12-hour format races. I don't know. We got to wait for Bill to publish this schedule. We are chomping at the bit for this schedule. But
every race don't tell anybody, but every race in 2024, 2025 is going to be right down the road for me. Every race. Just make it easy. I don't have to travel far. We're done. And we're done. That's it.
I'm with you though, Tim. Road America is my home track. Grew up there. That's like nirvana. But pound for pound, corner for corner, I don't think there is a better test of driver and the ability to set up a car than Mid-Ohio. It's just it's the best track for a driver, and it's the best track or the hardest track to set up properly for the entire track, which is there's no track you can set up properly for the entire track. But it's really a challenge, and when the mechanics get it right and the drivers get it right, it is the best place in the world to race cars.
So what was your favorite corner there? And before you answer, mine was always like China Beach is what, 4?
Yep.
4, 5, 6, 7.
Yep.
And that blind crest off camber, turning the right, and God, that was insane when you got it right. And with our arrow, that worked really well. But where was your favorite part of that track?
I think I like the 8-9 complex best.
Yeah.
The fast right-hander, because you are coming out of what, 8 already in a right-hander. You're braking while having steering input in the car. So the car wants to over-rotate. You need to threshold brake while you're trying to set up the entry for 9, which is a blind apex, completely blind track out.
Yeah.
So you get to the apex, transition back on throttle. You want a maintenance throttle because you can't see the exit yet, but your brain's telling you, no, you got to get back to full throttle and just trust that this thing's not going to come around on you. Get over the hill, and there's the curb over there. Yep, I put it in the right spot. Yeah. That's really fun.
And I love the carousel.
And the carousel is kind of fun too, as you just drop away. Yeah, you don't realize it drops away until you take photos over there. It's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
They're way up here. I'm way down here.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it dropped down that much.
It's a true carousel. It goes on for days.
Yeah.
It does.
And we didn't run the last 2 years, I think it was. We have not run the chicane. I ran the chicane. I when we were setting up Flagtronics, I took my truck out, and I'm just looking at that going, oh, look at those brake markers. And if you get those brake markers wrong, it's going to hurt,
Yep.
And with ChampCar, most of those brake markers are gone by lap 6. So No, they were there pretty much all race.
Yeah, you don't pay attention to those anyway. But now you close your eyes. That feels about right.
Yeah, just hope. There it is. Flag stand. We're good. Go.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Thanks, Tim, for joining us. And that was actually a pretty good explanation of a lot of things you've done in your life. And
very cool.
Thanks for joining us. And I can't put
that was fun. I appreciate getting to relive the whole racing career and what could have been.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for being with us, and we look forward to getting you back out there and seeing you and the team out there next year. So, and we forgot to
they had a bill for me, by the way.
Oh, we'll do. Yeah, we'll talk tomorrow. But let me say hi to my wife Becky. Today is her birthday.
Oh, congratulations!
So for her birthday, I got to go racing at Mid Ohio.
Nice.
There you go. Perfect. And you have any sponsors to thank?
Yeah. So John Koth at Raceworks in Virginia Beach. He did a little bit of prep work for us on there. So if you have a BMW in the Virginia Beach area, go see Raceworks. Sawbelt for safety gear. Lifeline, series sponsor as well. So we like everything that they do. The last time that I gave a interview, it was in the Riley capacity. I forgot to point out how exceptional our fabricators are there. So Dean, Kyle, and Bill, dude, you guys are the best.
Yes.
So yes, the redemption. Thank you. But, yeah,
it's like the Oscar speech where you forget to thank your wife.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I had to live with that for about a year, so we'll make that right. And then, of course, Mom and Dad, I'm sure they're watching right now. So hi, thank you for everything, and we'll keep on doing this. This is a blast.
Awesome.
Cool. All right, man. Thanks for joining us.
Anytime. Take care, guys.
Cool. Brian.
Yes.
We got a weekend off, man.
No.
You were busy last weekend.
A little.
You were somewhere in the middle of the country, somewhere dodging cones. So let's let the world know. How'd you do, man?
I learned a ton. I learned stuff that if I'd learned last year, I would have not lost to the Crown Vic. I learned that the car that I have is absolutely junk for the class that I'm in. And
what class are you in?
I'm in the slowest class in autocross, H Street.
Okay.
I would be a perfect car for I Street if there were an I Street.
Don't you have to petition the board there, or the what do they call them?
The board, yeah. The solo events board. The last thing they're going to do is add a new class for me. But gosh darn it, I wish they would. I had some really fast drivers tell me that the Honda Fit is not the proper car for this whole sport, especially the automatic transmission. So I again finished last in my class, but I made 4 seconds of improvement from first run to third run on both days.
Good.
And the last day, I just threw a whole bunch of massive changes to the setup of the car. And
which is what you do.
Because I was going to finish last anyway. And funny story is the whole point was to try to get the car to rotate.
Yeah.
And in the first corner on the last run, it rotated, and I almost soiled myself.
Did it rotate way too much?
No. It rotated perfectly, but then I had 70 seconds to figure out how to make that work for me the rest of the run because it had never happened before.
Oh, okay.
But I must have figured it out because I was 4 seconds faster on that last run than I was on the previous run.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah,
man.
no, it was great, and of course it's tons of fun. The people are amazing. Every night's a party, and I did 5 shows. There'll be one more show this coming week. So did lots of content and told some fun stories and met some cool people, and I can't wait to go back next year.
That's really cool.
With a different car.
Yeah, I remember autocrossing long time ago. I can't do it now. It's
sure you can.
I tried.
You come with me next year. You come with me next year and do it.
Maybe. I know Ray Frank, the last time I tried it was in Richmond, Virginia. And Ray, I got lost. It was me, my son, Ray, and his son, and a whole bunch of other people. And I get in the car, and I'm thinking these trophies, well, you can't see them now, but there's plaques on the wall from my heyday of autocrossing out in the Southwest. And I think I'm going to bring that back, much like my mountain biking. You know how I thought I was going to conquer the world that first mile? And I didn't. I spun. I got lost, I think, turn 3. And little did I know that Ray Frank was doing the play-by-play.
Oh,
yeah, and it was my wife wanted to curl up and go
that's
away
awesome.
very far very quickly. So
Well, I missed a whole slalom in one run. I got to the third cone.
What I did.
Yeah, I got to the third cone and said, "Oh, wait, I think I was supposed to drive around those other two."
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it was way different. So, all right. So we were at Mid-Ohio this past weekend. In a week and a half, we'll be heading to Harris Hill.
Yep.
For the fall race there, which is the Grand Prix of Texas.
Yep.
And that's always a great one. And I keep telling people, go to Harris Hill. That is a hell of a racetrack. It's not very big, but it is fast. It's challenging, and it's awesome. I just love it. The food there is great. The it's just south of Austin, Texas. Just right outside of town.
You guys go to High Plains, right?
We did. We'll go back there one day. We just we're not doing it this year.
Got it. Okay. I stopped there on the way back.
Oh no, we did do it this year.
I thought you went there this year.
Yeah, we did do that this year.
Yeah. I stopped there on my way back.
Howlett, we didn't go to. That's
right. So I just I visited a friend of mine who was running a race there over the weekend with a different series, and stopped there.
WRL was there, right?
Yep, it was WRL. Yeah. So stopped there for the first time, and I didn't realize that Randy Popes was there. I should have found him and said hi. But anyway, never been there before. That is a cool facility. It's out in the middle of nowhere, but
it's a hell of a racetrack, man.
It's a great racetrack.
Elevation changes galore.
Yeah.
The corners are deceivingly fast, and the fast corner the corners you think are fast are not fast. You better slow down for them.
Yeah.
And it's funny, during their drivers meeting, they say your mind tells you to do this here, but your butt is going to tell you that you're going to do this.
Exactly.
And you will do that. So it's kind of a fun track, and like you said, it's out in the middle of nowhere. Which is good, because I think that's where racetracks should be. Because when they start putting motorhomes up and housing developments around a racetrack, that's usually the death knell. So,
well, the funny part is what we were talking to the track manager or whatever, and even in the middle of nowhere, they have a hard time getting.
So cool.
Yeah, great guy. But even in the middle of nowhere, they still have a hard time getting the county to approve stuff. So.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's a great place. If you have a chance to go there, go race there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's many little tracks like that. Not everybody can be a Daytona or Watkins Glen, and
nor should they be.
And, there's small tracks like Harris Hill and Nelson Ledges and Howlett and Carolina Motorsports Park, little track called VIR. That's places, great places. So. Yep.
All right, so Harris Hill, and then a couple of weeks after that, you've got the coming up in October pit race.
Yeah, pit race. That's getting close to being a sellout. So if you're going to pit race, you better sign up now and get your entry in. And it's going to be fun. Part of the Midwest Challenge. It'll be the last leg of the Midwest Challenge, and we've got a big trophy we're going to put together for that, and maybe some prizes and some stuff. And
nice.
It'll be cool. Yeah. And last I saw, I got to do up the Mid-Ohio. No, let me write that down. I got to do some Mid-Ohio points.
Okay.
But before that, with the first race of the season, Salins was winning that right there. But I think they still might be in first, but it'll be close because we had some new winners. Atlanta Speedworks won on Saturday, so at Mid-Ohio.
Awesome.
So yeah, so we go there, and then I don't know where we go after that.
I don't either.
Oh yeah, I do. It's right here, Road America. Unfortunately, won't be at Road America. Son's getting married. Yay! But we have a full staff. We're getting ready to getting all their plans together for that, and that'll be a big race. Paulie will be there doing a show at Road America, so that'll be fun. And Atlanta Motorsports Park follows. We're just getting our hotels and stuff sorted for that today, and then we're off in November 30th, December 1st to Virginia International Raceway, racing on the north, and then a few of us head off to PRI right after that, and then we get Christmas off and I guess my birthday or something, and then Sebring International Raceway for the 8+7 at Sebring. So ending the year, and October 1st we come out with our schedule.
Nice.
2025. I believe it's a 20 race schedule. Could be a little bit more. I don't know.
All right.
Some new tracks on there, or tracks we're revisiting, and should be fun. All right, man. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. or whatever o'clock it is, 7 o'clock for you.
Whatever o'clock it is.
Yeah. So we'll see you guys at the racetrack, and thank you for everybody this past weekend at Mid-Ohio. Congrats to Atlanta Speedworks and Salen's motorsports team, and it was fun watching that race. At any moment, anybody could have won those 2 races. So, all right, guys.
Before we go, John Wittenauer, Timothy Elliott, Kelly Wittenauer, who else? Erwin Grevin, John Leclerc, thank you all for being in the chat. If you haven't liked and smashed and all those other things with the buttons, do all that stuff before we get going here. So,
thanks, Tim. That was an awesome show.
Yes.
See you guys at the racetrack.
Very good. That's going to do it for another episode of Inside ChampCar. Did you like what you hear? Subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube channel so you won't miss any episodes. Would also be great if you share it on your social media channels. Comment on the ChampCar Facebook page, especially if it's a good one. New episodes every week. He's Bill Strong. I'm Brian Bielanski. Have yourself a fantastic week, a good weekend, and go play with cars.